You need help, real help. And someone offers it, genuinely, freely, with no strings attached. And your first thought isn't relief, it's, I shouldn't. They have enough going on. I don't want to be too much, so you say you're fine. You handle it alone. You shrink the need down until it disappears, or until you do. And here's the part that keeps you up at night. You don't actually believe you're fine. You just believe that needing things, needing people, makes you a problem someone has to solve. If that hits somewhere specific, stay. Because that feeling has a name, a cause, and, more importantly, it is not the truth about you. Here's what this actually looks like from the inside. You become fiercely, almost aggressively self-sufficient. Not because you don't need people, but because needing people feels like a debt you're not sure you can repay. So you figure it out alone, every time. And you get very good at it. But when the weight gets heavy enough that you can't carry it alone, you don't reach out. You go quiet instead. You pull back, you disappear a little, because somewhere in you, the logic runs. If I'm struggling, I'm a lot. And if I'm a lot, I'll push them away. You apologize for things that don't require apologies, for being sad, for being tired, for taking up space in someone's afternoon. You phrase your needs in the most digestible, smallest possible form, and then feel guilty anyway. The cruelest part? You would do anything for the people you love. You show up completely without question, but the moment you need them to show up for you. A voice in your head says, "This is too much. You are too much. You don't apply the same rules to yourself that you apply to everyone else." For them, needing help is human. For you, it feels like a character flaw. Here's what's actually happening. And it has nothing to do with weakness or being too sensitive. Psychologists call this pattern hyper-independence, and it is a recognized trauma response, not a personality type. It develops when a person learns, early and repeatedly, that expressing needs is dangerous, that it leads to rejection, overwhelm, dismissal, or withdrawal of love. So the nervous system makes a decision. Don't need. Don't ask. Don't cost people anything. Stay small enough to be worth keeping. Research also shows that people who feel like a burden tend to score remarkably high in empathy and attunement. They are exquisitely sensitive to other people's emotional states. They notice when someone is tired, overwhelmed, or barely holding it together. And because they notice, they pull back. They don't want to add to the pile. That's not selflessness exactly. That's a finely tuned radar system that was built for survival. And it's still running, long after the danger has passed. There's also a concept called perceived burdensomeness, studied extensively by psychologist Thomas Joyner, which describes the deeply painful belief that your existence costs more to others than it gives. It's not a reflection of reality. It's a cognitive pattern, a lens, a lie the brain tells with complete conviction. So how does this start? Where does the feeling actually come from? In most cases, it starts in a relationship where your needs were treated as inconvenient, not necessarily with cruelty, sometimes just with absence. A parent who was emotionally unavailable. A home where everyone was struggling and there simply wasn't room for one more hard thing. A caregiver who loved you, but shut down when things got heavy. A child in that environment learns something very specific. My needs are a weight. My emotions are a problem. The safest version of me is the one who asks for nothing. And so they become the easy one, the low-maintenance one, the one who never complains, never asks, never falls apart where anyone can see it. And they get praised for it. You're so mature, so independent, so strong, which only deepens the pattern. Because now the mask is the identity. The brain files this under how love works. Not as a childhood strategy, as a universal truth. And it runs that program in every relationship that follows. Every friendship, every partnership, every time someone says, "Let me know if you need anything," and you say, "I'm good, thanks." But we have to name what this pattern is actually costing you, because there is a cost. When you never let people help you, you never let people love you, not fully. You allow connection at a surface level, and then you quietly place a ceiling on how deep it can go. Because deep means vulnerable. And vulnerable means they might see how much you need and leave. So your relationships have a strange quality. You are deeply loyal, deeply generous, endlessly giving, but there is a wall. And the people who love you feel the wall, even if they can't name it. They sense they can't quite reach you, that you'll accept care only up to a point, and then you retreat. And here is the painful irony. By trying not to be a burden, you become a different kind of burden. The burden of worrying about someone who refuses to be worried about. The burden of loving someone you can't fully reach. The people who love you want to show up for you. Not out of obligation, because that's what love is. And every time you disappear into independence when you're hurting, you quietly deny them the chance. Here's what changes when you understand this. The feeling that you're a burden is not insight. It's not your empathy reading the room correctly. It's a survival pattern, an old, loyal, exhausted part of you that learned to protect you by making you small. It did the best it could. But it was working from incomplete information, because here's what it never learned. Needing people is not a defect. It is the entire design. Humans are wired for interdependence, not independence, not dependence, interdependence. The give and the receive, in balance, over time. The goal isn't to become someone who needs nothing. The goal is to slowly, carefully begin to let the people who have earned it in. Not all the way at once, not without discernment, but enough. Enough to find out what you've suspected but never let yourself believe. That you are not too much. That you were never too much. That the right people will not leave when they see the weight you carry. They will ask to help you carry it. The people who can receive help gracefully and give it generously, those are the people with the deepest, most durable relationships. Not because they need less, but because they finally let themselves be known. You don't need to stop being the person who shows up for everyone. You just need to finally become someone who lets others show up for you. If this felt personal, if some part of you is still quietly arguing, but I really am a lot, I want you to sit with that. That voice is the pattern, not the truth. You are not a burden. You are a person. And persons need things. That is not a flaw. That is just what being alive looks like. Subscribe. We'll keep bringing you videos that break down the psychology behind the patterns you live in but were never taught to name. And comment below, have you ever talked yourself out of asking for help because you didn't want to be too much? I want to know, because if you have, you're in very large, very good company. You were never the burden. You were just carrying one, and it's not yours to carry alone anymore.